So, sorry, there's a fly there. So, finding a solution to a problem is not the easiest thing. It's not easy because it's unclear. A lot of times when someone has a problem, it's because they haven't faced it before, so they don't know how to solve it. And the way you find these answers is through trial and error, or through a lot of effort put into something. And that effort is hard. It's hard to do something you're bad at because you're bad at it. You want to do something you're good at, or something that requires a lot less effort. What do I mean by this, and why am I talking about this? Well, something that's kind of been on my mind recently is the fact that, especially when playing video games, a lot of times we go into a video game with a lot of knowledge. Whether that's you've watched it on Twitch before, or you've seen a YouTube video, or you've read about it, or you've seen a trailer, etc. A lot of times you have previous knowledge of what a game is about before you've even bought it. And a lot of times it's not a bad thing, right? It can smooth out a lot of those bumps that you encounter when you first start to play, remove frustration. It can help you be better at the game in terms of maybe watching guide videos or itemizations. But a lot of times I advocate for not doing that. And why is that? Well, there's a theme that I want to focus on in this video, and that's exploration or the unknown. A lot of times things are known and there is no exploration. How can you explore something that's already been discovered, right? People always want to be optimal in what they do because it feels good. It feels good to know that you're making the best decision. It feels good that you're as geared out as possible. You're using the right talents, the right items. It doing well in anything feels amazing, but what doesn't feel so good is you're not the one who thought of that combination, or maybe that combination that's theoretically the best doesn't fit your playstyle, for example. A lot of times we conform to these molds that aren't necessarily made for us. They're made for these other players that, or maybe they're perhaps softened down to accommodate for the average majority of players. So I've been playing a game recently. It's called Deep Rock Galactic. It's an indie game. I forget who makes it specifically, but it's Coffee Stain Gaming or something like that. And they're an amazing company. It's a great soundtrack, great game, and basically the premise is you play as a dwarf in space, and it's 4-player co-op. You should play with 4 people because it's amazing. And each dwarf has a different ability. There's a red dwarf, a blue dwarf, a yellow dwarf, and there's kind of a grayish dwarf. And each one has their own special flair, special flavor, and the colors help distinctify their special look. And the reason I'm loving this game so much is because the day I found out about it was the day I bought it. I didn't do any research into this game. I had no clue what I was getting into. And that made every moment so much more magical to me. I want to tell you about the game, but also don't, because I want you to experience it yourself. So I'm going to try to avoid talking about the game. But in essence, this game, other than the summary I just gave you, that's probably all I'm going to talk about. But I didn't have any notion of what this game was or what it was about, other than seeing dwarfs on the Steam page or on the title says Deep Rock Galactic, and I saw the views, or the thumbs up per se, on Steam. It was mostly positive with like 30,000 upvotes in the span of, I don't know, like a month or a couple of weeks after it's been out. That's amazing results, and I jumped the gun and I bought it. Now, a lot of people don't advocate for doing such things because, buying stuff willy-nilly is never really a good idea, but what is a good idea is discovering things out for yourself. And that's exactly what I did with the game. I found out what setup I liked using. I found what missions I liked doing. I got to discover little secrets around the gameplay that I appreciated, and I just fell in love. And I had never heard the sound design, and when I heard it, everything clicked, and it was very magical. I think some of that pristine gameplay that I'm describing is enabled when you're in the unknown, when you are exploring or discovering things for yourself rather than watching someone else do it. And this kind of goes back to the very first video I made on this channel, talking about you actually doing things, you being in the moment, and sort of the video from yesterday. Exploring has this really powerful potential of not knowing what's about to happen, and I think that's a theme that games should implement and try to encourage. And I think a lot of the responsibility is actually on the player, because there's only so much a company can do to try to keep its secrets, but someone's always going to make a guide. There's always going to be an optimal setup. But as a player, it's important to have the responsibility to not look at those things sometimes. Because a lot of times when you think of clever combinations or maybe there's this puzzle that you solved yourself in a special way, or maybe you're trying to get to point B and you're at point A and you ask yourself, okay, what's the best way for me to get to point B? You have to find the answer, right? It feels good to come up with new ideas, and I think that's an attitude that a lot of players should embrace and don't embrace right now. It's pretty sad. Hopefully in your guys' games you will embrace exploration. What are some other really important themes that you guys can think of? I really I'm looking forward to playing more Deep Rock Galactic, and if any of you guys want to play with me, I'd love to. The game is completely bonkers. Well, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. Thanks for listening as always, and I appreciate all of you guys. I love all of you. Thank you. Peace.